Nobody's on. Nobody. Okay. Get to do this. Called to order City of Edgerton regular common council meeting Monday, October 18th, 2021 at 7:00 p.m. Roll call.
Ron,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, confirmation or appropriate meeting notice.
Meeting was noticed on Friday, October 15th. Agendas were posted at the post office, library, and city hall.
Thank you. Council acceptance of agenda.
Make a motion to accept.
Second.
Motion and a second to accept the agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I can't vote, can't I?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, since I'm, okay. Thank you. Personal appearances for non-agenda items limited to 3 minutes. Anybody would like to say anything that's not on the agenda? Okay. Number 6, approval of minutes from October 4th council meeting minutes.
I'll move to approve. I'll second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any questions or discussion on the minutes? I have one, it's just a small typo, page 4, first sentence in the first paragraph. The last word in that sentence, permits being issued, I believe is what it should be.
Thank you.
Okay, other than that, that's all I have. Anybody else? Okay, motion and a second to approve. Roll call, please.
Langen,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes, and those pass. Okay, committee reports. Finance, and I will start with finance. We met this evening at 6:45. Motion to approve bills and payroll in the amount of $156,660.64.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions or discussion on the bills? Roll call?
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
And those pass. There were no license applications to approve. There's a motion, bring forward a motion to approve the low bid from Pioneer Roofing in the amount of $7,874 for repair of the library roof.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any questions or discussion?
I just want to make a clarification. It says replacement, but it is repair.
Thank you for that. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call?
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
And that passes. Motion to approve City of Edgerton Resolution 15-21A, authorizing execution of the Department of Natural Resources Principal Forgiven Financial Assistance Agreement.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions or discussion? Roll call?
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
And that passes. Motion to approve a supersized facade grant for 16 Swift Street in the amount of $10,000.
I'll second.
Motion is second. Any questions or discussion?
RDA met earlier tonight, and this item was on there, and that building is, we can see it from here, it's the garage building that's on State Street, and it's a roofing replacement. So it was big price tag, and that's why it capped out at the 10,000.
Big roof.
And according to the notes, they got three bids, I think, and we don't care which one they go with because it's all over the 10, right?
Yeah,
Or
the
Our
10.
portion,
Is the
our
maximum.
portion of the 10, yeah.
Mhm. Correct.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion on that item? Roll call?
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
And that passes. Motion to approve a supersized facade grant for 116 West Fulton Street in the amount of $10,000.
A second.
Motion is second. Any
That too
questions? or
was
dis-
discussed at RDA, that is Two Brothers, and Larry Benici was here, he said he recently, or in the last couple of years, re-roofed the Red Baron, this is a similar project, again. Big roofing job, so maxes out at the 10,000.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call?
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Thank you. And that's it for finance. Utility.
Yeah, utility met last Monday, the 11th. Basically, highlights were discussed and approved the 2022 water and sewer budget. Also, Howard had reported that the lead laterals are all completed.
Great. Thank you. Parks. I'll give an update on Parks. Parks Committee met on the 11th of October, and we approved we didn't approve, yes, we did. We approved the budget for 2022, recommending it to council. Chief Pickering, the wrong chief. Chief Kowalski and Howard had discussed, and this will come forward to a future meeting, there will be a fundraiser, I believe, to
provide a new flag and flagpole for the park, for Racetrack Park.
Correct.
And there's discussion as to where to place that flagpole. So, there was no decision made because there's gonna be a little bit of movement around at the park, some, stuff done around the park area, and we thought once that's done, then we would help to give some recommendations as to where that flag should be.
It'll be a joint effort between the police and the VFW to put a better flag there than what we use for National Night Out. Something more becoming.
And it's funny, because I did drive through the park again. I mean, you would think you should know where that flagpole is, right? You can very easily miss it. So I think it's a good idea to kind of get a new one and put it in a little bit more prominent spot. So anyways, that'll be something I think next year you guys are talking about, the funds being raised and.
Correct.
So anyways, there was discussion on that. Also, there will be future discussion at a future meeting about possible skateboard park area and where that should be, if there should be one, but there'll be a future meeting to discuss that. But there is a growing interest within the community for reviving the skate park. And that's it for parks.
Redevelopment met earlier tonight. Finance kind of stole most of our thunder. Those two items were on there, and we also discussed the budget, all of which is KIF related when it comes to energy.
Good. Thanks, Casey. Historic.
Historic met this evening at 5:30, and we just had one agenda item, which was the construction of a non-permitted structure that's not attached to one of the historic buildings downtown. So,
Great. Okay, number 8, discuss 5-year capital improvement plan. Ramona, some background, please.
Page 5 is a brief staff report. You may recall, we discussed earlier our 10-year plan, the capital plan, as well as the borrowing. We have applied for a couple of grants through the state DOT, the LRIP program, and those grants require that any projects included in the grant applications be in the 5-year plan. So your 5-year plan did not include Robert Street. Robert Street won't be borrowed for. Our proposal is that it would be covered by hopefully this LRIP grant, as well as funds that are allocated each year in the regular road improvement. So that's why it wouldn't necessarily be listed in that 5-year plan, but for the grant application, it must be. IKI Drive is the big application we made. That's a very expensive street. It is, it was in like year 6 out. It was in the 10-year, but not in the 5-year. So we have moved that into the 5-year to be in compliance with the grant requirement and in expectation or in hopes that we would get a grant to fund that project. So that's the request, as you adopt this 5-year plan, and then we will be in compliance with the grant.
What does LRIP stand for?
Local Road Improvement Program. It's in every other year. They have a statewide competition, which is where we put the big project in, and then the smaller projects are handled at the county level. And Howard will participate in with the other DPW directors in selecting those projects.
how successful have we been in the past at receiving these particular funds?
It's a good question. The small projects, every year we go and we divide up the 6 communities in the county, cities in the county or villages, divide up a pot of about $50,000 or $60,000. So in the last 2 rounds, we've received a grant in the neighborhood of $15,000. So each time we go, we take a project, and hopefully we'll get a part of it paid for. It depends on who else has projects in and who hasn't received funding, but usually we get some funding when we ask. The big project, we've never applied for. It's discretionary statewide competition, but there's more funding right now because of all of the ARPA money. So this would certainly be the year to apply, and so we're hopeful that we'll be successful in that. It's very competitive.
Right. Would the fact that we have development, like business development plan along with IKI Drive kind of help our cause?
That's all in the grant app, absolutely. Yeah, the park, the fact that it connects to the rural road network. There are a lot of reasons why that street, I think looks good in a grant application, so that's why we chose to put that one in. Good.
I believe we want a motion to
Yes, subcommittees.
approve that.
I will move to approve the 5-year capital improvement plan, including the proposals for IKI Drive and Robert Street.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that? Roll call?
Langen,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
And that passes. Number 9, consider adoption of City of Edgerton Resolution 18-21, requesting exemption from Rock and Dane County Library tax. I recall this is an annual thing we do. Pretty straightforward. So we'll need a motion for that, if someone would like to.
I'll make a motion to adopt the City of Edgerton Resolution 18-21, requesting exemption from Rock and Dane County Library tax.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion on that? Roll call?
Shaw,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
And that passes. And just what we've been waiting for, number 10. Discuss the 2022 budget. Okay, well, let's see, where do we want to begin? Do we want to kind of lead this and start us out?
Certainly. What we'll be speaking of this evening are the levy-supported funds. So on the third sheet of paper in your packet is the summary of where we are, but it also lists those funds that are levy-supported: the general fund, the operating budget of the city, the refuse collection fund, and the debt service fund. Right now, there are no levy projects in capital projects fund. So those are the funds that you have to establish your levy. The goal is to have a legal notice in the paper so that we can have the public hearing in November. We typically do that in the regular meeting in November, which means that notice would have to go in next Monday. That's a pretty tight time frame. So if we can't reach a point tonight where you're ready to set the levy and go put the public hearing notice in the paper, then we would have either a special meeting sometime in the near future and then push the hearing off into a special meeting in November. There's a couple of ways we can do it. So we'll probably have to have a special meeting one way or the other, which we can decide after we get through the conversation. So I'll just go through the text here for you, hitting at the highlights of a few things. The first item, the debt and borrowing, we've spent some time talking about that as a council regarding our borrowing next year, the 10-year capital plan, and the council's established goal for several years now to maintain an even levy for debt service around $600,000. We attained that again this year with a similar levy to last year for debt of $610,542. The capital item list, which is on the second sheet of paper of your budget, you've seen that also, and we have been through that as a council, and many of the committees have also been through it. Those are your notable capital items, and anything that is notable regarding operating changes and costs are also noted there for you. And also the source of funds, if they aren't levy supported, if there's a number by it, it means it's probably funded by another source. So certainly you can remove it from the budget, but removing it from the budget doesn't reduce the levy deficit. Highway aids, the highway aids are up again, which is really great news. If you may recall, 2 years ago, the highway aids for us went up by $20,000. And they maintained that for 2 years, and now they went up by an additional $20,000. So in the past, because road improvements have been your priority, any extra money we've received in highway aids have not been available for things other than roads. It's gone right and increased the budget, the expenditure account for streets. So this draft budget did the same thing. So what was a $50,000 line item is now a $93,000 line item, driven strictly by those increase in revenues from highway aids. So that's your choice, that we just put it in there that way because that's what your choice has been in the past. The levy limit, as you know, the levy limits restrict our operating increases. Our levy limit increase this year is 2.49%. The lion's share of that is due to the retirement of TIF 5. Otherwise, the increase in the levy is just over $10,000 for the entire operating budget of the city. And that's based on the assumption that the fire district will attain their restriction, which allows us to increase the levy by the amount they're asking for. And they have, the chief has indicated that that will be their intention. One other thing to note regarding the retirement of that TIF is the increment or the excess tax levy that's created by the retirement of that TIF. The Personnel Committee has set a goal of trying to use those funds to try to increase wages for some employees after the wage study was complete. So in your budget, you will see a line called longevity reserve, which is reserving those funds for those increased wages that will all be determined by you in the future as we work through that. So know that it isn't committing to that now. You will commit to that in the salary resolution and any other decisions that are made related to that. But that is in your budget right now. And there's also a portion of that, you'll note it's a little more than the TIF. It's also some of the available funds from the retirement and not filling the position of the utility director. And the Personnel Committee also wished to use some of those funds for wages. The wages, the Personnel Committee met, and they have established a 2% across the board wage increase as a goal for this budget. That's what's included in this budget. They also tried to ask us to include in the budget wage increases for employees with at least 10 years of experience to bring them up to 25% of the wage range. Wage ranges were established by the budget. Many employees were not even in the range, so this budget includes attaining that goal of bringing those people up with 10 years of experience to 25% of the entire range. Not big changes in health insurance this year, really, to note, or retirement. They're noted there for you. There are some, we always talk about the available funds that you have outside of the levy, capital surplus funds, which is the annual appropriation you make of any surplus created in the general fund is moved to the capital projects fund and then is used there for capital projects. Parks funds are also available for certain projects that are on your capital list if you wish to use parks funds for some of those things. We talked about the schedule, and you noted, if you did look at the detail, we have yet to, the DPW costs are spread among many accounts, and at this point, because of all of the stuff that's been going on at City Hall with people being out, those numbers are included in here, they just aren't spread to all the accounts, so some accounts will look a little wonky, but it's accounted for in the bottom line. So with that, I'll just say the bottom line right now is you have a $13,380 deficit to meet the levy limit goal. And I'll stop there and try to answer questions, or if you have proposals as to how you want to proceed, we will make notes.
That doesn't include any of the capital surplus?
It's not expending any capital surplus, that's correct. Right. Or parks fees.
Wonderful.
Yes. It is. Yes.
I know, it's really come together nicely. I'm not quite sure why I don't want to call it lucked out, but we still have a little work to do, but we've in the past had to come up with many thousands of dollars and figure out how to do it, so we must be doing something right. So, you know, there's a couple things, Actually, I have a question about library, the HVAC controls. We have nothing there. Now, remind me, is this something that needs to be done? We just don't know what it's gonna cost, or? Okay.
Yeah, so at this point, Cedar Core is kind of in contact with the company that installed the new air conditioner to see if this is like work that wasn't done properly in the first place, or it's an additional project. It's most likely a combination, but the original quote was like $25,000.
Okay.
So we're still kind of waiting for Cedar Core to report back on that.
Okay, okay. So since we don't know, that's not part of this,
Correct.
so that's something that we'll, once we know how much it is, we'll have to decide how we go about taking care of that. But that could be something from the capital surplus,
Could be.
possibly. Okay.
Under parks, the racetrack park, old entrance and parking, does that include signage, or are we dealing with that another day?
It does not. I assume you're referring to the rather decorative arch sign that does not include that.
Okay. And we don't know the dance floor modification.
Correct. In the parks conversation that before was, we were thinking that it would be maybe double as skate park. And the concrete, and investigating the concrete pad itself, it would not be, it would have to also be replaced. So then I think that calls into question the real logic or ability to try to combine those. So, so with that, then we're gonna try to, look at it as kind of separate projects and get numbers for them.
Do we think we'll still get that number and work this into this budget, or is that something we could take out of park fees, after the budget is passed?
I think a portion of it, probably a good portion of it could be eligible for parks fees. So yeah, I don't think, I'm guessing given how difficult it is to get contractors to give estimates, we probably won't have an estimate for this budget. So it isn't an emergency, but I think if we work toward it, we may be able to decide in mid-year next year if we have numbers, if we wait till the following year to fund it, or if we find another source.
Good.
Where's the East Fulton Street retaining wall?
Right on the top of the hill, when you know which one,
Yeah,
yes, the one that is now starting to look rather precarious.
the one that has it's had that blue tarp there.
No, actually,
No.
it's much closer in.
Okay.
It's right at where the Ben Hall apartments are.
Walking up the hill and there's a handrail.
Right across from Nelson Young.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay, so you said top of the hill, I would put that one.
Yeah.
I guess that is, there's more than one hill.
There is.
Yes.
The top of the first hill. So yeah, the one that's on the private side of the sidewalk is not our responsibility. It's the wall that is between the sidewalk and the curb that is our responsibility, and that's the one that is also, the other one's being repaired, you may have noticed.
Yeah.
So that one, Howard has been working on
Okay.
that to try to,
Gotcha.
we took bids earlier, and we didn't think we had anywhere near enough competition, and so the numbers were way higher than we thought. So hopefully next year we can bid it with more time and
Okay.
get better bids.
So just to tag on to that, that's from the curb to the railing, or to the sidewalk.
Correct.
And then the one by the apartments, the apartment complex, or people or whatever, are responsible for repairing that.
Correct.
Thank you.
So the number you thought came in high is the 155, or are we going to look for?
Well, I think we're gonna evaluate, make sure we know that we have the most affordable solution. And, so that is, remind me, the 155 was the bid number, is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And note that that is not part of your levy, so while you can certainly take it out or do whatever you wish with it, it won't help your bottom line. But, yeah, I think that's the number we got for the bid, actually. So we're hoping it's gonna be less next year.
So, just kind of as you remind me, there's some things that we could move to borrowing, correct? If it's used for projects with, oh, no, never mind. never mind.
The rules about capital surplus
Capital
are,
surplus, yes.
the 10-year life is kind of, it's your policy, so it's entirely up to you, but the rule was that we wanted to try to establish that money for longer-term projects, not operating-related kind of expenses. So the rule of thumb we've used is a 10-year project. So anything that's on here that's currently funded in the levy that has a 10-year life could potentially be funded by capital surplus.
So, under the pool, pump seals,
Yeah,
could we consider that?
they are,
A 10-year?
yeah, they're original, so they're 30.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
it's
so
probably
if we decided to take it out of here and have it paid for by capital surplus, that would fit that need,
Correct,
or that requirement, as well as the check valves, I would assume.
yes.
And then staying on the pool, the bathhouse, fascia, and soffit replacement.
That will certainly have a 10-year life.
So those are 3 items that could come off, if we or one of them, or 2 of them, to make up the 13,380, and pay for it by capital surplus.
I mean, essentially, all 3 of those would put us right about where we need to
Or
be.
would it be, I didn't even add them up, I just,
Yeah, pretty close. I mean, it's a little bit more, but it's not by not much.
Sure.
1,500 or something.
the other thing we could do it to stay in line with how we always do it, is maybe think about not funding a funbrella, but
Waiting for that.
And that's
What?
developers,
Or we
Waiting for that. We always take that out.
we always leave that out.
that's ineligible for developers fees.
Or we can be nice and leave it in and, try to figure out how to fund it.
How long has she been asking for one of those?
Well, every year, she's got a couple, but every year she asks for one, almost every year. Maybe not last year since we had the slide.
Right, and we can see she's already got repair for a funbrella. I mean, so they're starting to, I mean, they last a long time, but I hate to say no and then already have one that is in need of repair. I mean,
So since we're on the topic of funbrellas, with that money though, more trees at Central Park and the pool, how many larger trees could we put in at Central, within the pool? Because during the tour, she said trees are fine because they don't drop leaves during the summer when they're operating. So how many trees could we get for the price of one umbrella in Central
You get a
Park?
lot of trees for the cost of
A gravel bed full of
And
them.
could we landscape the area around the pavilion
Sure.
where we took down the shrubs this year?
I'm totally open to that idea.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because that was what I noticed on the tour, was not the lack of umbrellas, but it's pretty bare around the pool and just at Central Park in general. The trees are old, and I just worry in 20 years, are they all gonna be gone and it's nothing but little scrubby trees? Like, we've gotta get planting trees again at Central Park.
We did plant one tree, last year inside the gates of the pool. That was at Ann's request. We planted 3 trees, last year for the Arbor Day, celebration out there. So we have been adding them, but, this winter we will lose 3 sizable ash trees out there. Are
Right,
scheduled
there's
to
some
cut
red
down,
ones in
so
the park.
there's certainly room for more trees without question.
Yeah. That would be,
I think that that's a really great solution.
I mean, umbrellas always gonna show up, but like, that place needs trees. Trees can provide shade. They provide value all year long. So that would, if I had my druthers, I'd rather see more trees in Central Park than another.
what if we were able to do both? It's gonna take a while for those trees to grow.
Well,
And
not if you
provide
got
shade.
large trees. I mean, we could do both, sure, but, that's where I was going with the dollar amount.
And
Yeah.
I think any tree that we would be planting in the next year or two, it would be a while before that would be considered a good source of shade. Even if we got bigger trees, I mean, just for us to be able to
Yeah.
maneuver them around, we're probably not gonna get, you're not gonna plant anything too large. But there are some quicker growing trees that we could plant there.
Right. I do think we need to help provide additional shade for families that are taking their kids there, and just with the whole sun thing and the skin issues, that it's probably almost becoming a safety issue. We should probably fund the Funbrella, but also encourage with wherever that goes, whether it's the tree board, whether it's the parks, whether it's whoever, to plant more trees.
How many Funbrellas are there now?
I believe there are 3.
And at least one is in need of repair?
Yes.
Seems like an easy thing to push off.
It has been in the past, that's why we're looking at, maybe keeping it this year, just giving her a break with.
It has been, you're right. But we've done it a lot, and I guess I'm just, I think that people are a little bit more careful nowadays and want to be more careful with skin cancer and being in the sun.
Oh, they're not less, so yeah.
So I just think that that's something that we have to be a little bit more aware of too, right? And if somebody's gonna say, I'm not even gonna utilize that pool because there's not enough shade, I can't take my kids down there and I can't sit in the shade, so it could, you know? But that's just my own personal opinion, you guys, we've taken them out, the Funbrellas out in the past, we certainly could do it again.
So we may not have to, if we go with you're gonna do the check valve and the pump seals, move that to capital, out of capital surplus, is that what we said before? And there's 10,000 out of your 13,380.
Sure, if you wanted to, yeah. So you're saying the check valve and the pump seals, you said?
Correct. That gives you a little over 10,000, so you're down to $3,320.
And then you do the fascia and soffit as well.
I'm sorry, which one?
The next box to the right.
Item.
Oh, the bathhouse, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah, all 3 of those items in
It
the.
gives you 1680 more than what we're looking for, so.
Right.
Not bad.
Yep.
Took that out of cap surplus also?
So I have a follow-up question then. Do you want the legal notice to show you're under the levy limit, or do you want to show you are levying to the cap and that you will fill that with, you'll blend some of these projects together and fund it that way?
I prefer that because if we go under, I mean, we might as well go to what we can for the levy and utilize those funds, right? And then make the difference up with the capital surplus. Because if you don't go to that, you're not gonna get the dollars.
Right, we worded it that way anyway, because we have several question marks in here, so we still don't have it. So that leaves us the gap to fill. Or the ability to.
I would think, do you need a motion for this?
I need very clear direction if that's what your intention is. You can make motions if you wish, or I'm seeing consensus, but motions make it clear.
We need a motion to move the check valve expense of $4,060 and the pump seals for the pool of $6,000. And the $5,000 bathhouse fascia and soffit replacement in the capital surplus.
Second.
Or paid for by capital surplus and out of here. Is that the way?
Yeah.
And then the other part you were saying. What you said as far
But
as.
you utilize the levy limits
levy limit.
available,
Right.
That's fine, yeah.
right? Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Questions or further discussion on that?
Oh, did you second that? I thought I
Not
heard.
really.
Okay,
He added more to it, but that's fine.
okay. I thought I heard it.
Or he finished, one of the two.
Okay, roll call?
Burdick,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Paul Davis.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that passes. Which, is that it?
For the legal notice, yes.
We have solved the budget for this evening.
For this evening.
See how fast that goes without the mayor?
What's that?
I said, see how fast that goes without the mayor
Yeah, I was just gonna say,
here? We must have missed something.
no, you know what, I thought of that too, and I came in earlier and spoke with Ramona and Ramona and Cindy and staff. You guys helped put this together, make it so much easier for us, and your hard work helps us tremendously, so thank you. Okay, let's see. Is that what you need from us for the budget?
Yes.
Okay.
Put the notice in.
Hold on, I gotta look for my agenda here. Okay, number 11.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.851E, deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business, whether, whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. All right, with the rest of it too.
Yes, you do.
Discuss and consider land sale on Marshfield Court, and discuss and consider development agreement with Edgerton Community Outreach for 210 West Fulton Street.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call?
Shaw,
Yes.
Langen,
Yes.
Candy Davis,
Yes.
Paul Davis,
Yes.
Burdick,
Yes.
Braun,
Yes.
Okay, we will go into closed session.